Good morning, everybody. It is 8 a.m. this time. I have made it. Welcome back to another video. This is Ginger, and today I'm going to show you how I plan big ass projects like this. So typically, this is the only really big project that I've done. Obviously, I've built Titanic, and I'm actually in the process of building Hogwarts, kind of. But this project is something I've done on my own. And it's something that I've done in a scale I've never done before, and I don't typically do interiors. So a lot of this is going to be switching between tabs and windows, um, because I can't change my speed when I'm flying, which really sucks. Let me change the time to day, and we'll get started. So if you're planning a big project, the first thing you want to do is figure out the scale that you're in and figure out all the math basically. So let's start with this, for example. So for example, you're going to want to be familiar at least with what you're building, or at least familiar to a point where you can Google the specifics. So for example, for Shiganshina, so let's do this. So this is what I used. Typically, there will be something for what you're looking for, especially on Reddit. So the first thing I saw was walls are 50 meters high. So 50 meters and the scale that you want to do. So just keep 50 meters in mind. It says we can see the width of a wall segment is 20 to 25 meters, let's say 22. And there are 17 segments on the red line, so it is 374 meters long. So, well, there's two red lines. There's 17 segments on the red line, which means it's this way. And then, so this is 17 segments, which would be a lot. And then this is just kind of figuring it out. The district is as wide as 7 times the height of the wall, so 350 meters. It is 4 wall heights deep if you measure the tangent point, so 200 meters. So this is like all the math. Typically, there will be something, again, there'll be something that you can find. So we're going to be switching between this. So again, if you're building like a ship, you can typically Google the measurements. The total height, including the funnels, should usually be, or the tallest it goes, which is usually the mast. There's also obviously the length of the ship in meters or feet, and then the draft, which is not the draft, I'm sorry, the width and then the draft. So the draft is from the water line down, and the width is just the overall width. So you're going to want to take your measurement. For this example, we're using 50, so we're starting with height. Actually, I need to go. Actually, no, you can keep it in meters. That's what I typically prefer because that's just how I've always worked in Minecraft. It's easier to do meter, like 1 meter is 1 block versus like how many feet is in a block. You know what I mean? Okay. So you're going to want to decide your scale as well. If you want to do something that's pretty standard, I'd recommend anywhere between 1.5 to 1.8 to 1. So if you're doing something that really only has a lot of exterior detail, I would do 1 to 1 because that's for every 1 block. Every 1 meter, there's 1 block. But for example, for 1.5 to 1, it would be for every 1.5 blocks. Sorry, every 1.5 meters, there's 1 block. So in this case, we are taking 50 meters high, and then I did the scale in 3 to 1. So literally, we're just taking 50. Oops. Okay, I guess I can't use my keyboard. 50 times 3, and that is how high the walls are going to be. So let's measure my walls. They might be a little off, but we're gonna hope they're not. 150, there you go. Now, what I did when I was, honestly, this was one of the hardest things I've done. Literally I have to fly all the way back up at this slow fucking pace. But there, you did the height for 150, and especially you have to pay attention to the details in this as well, but we're gonna get into that later. So back to Reddit. So what I did is I did take the 22, I believe. See, the width of a wall segment is 22. So I took 22 and I multiplied it by 3 and I got 66. And typically I would recommend having an odd number as the, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong way. I'd recommend an odd number just because it is easier to find a center. So I rounded down to 65. So that is the width of the wall segment. It's just the basics. And now we have to figure out how deep it's going to go. Honestly, because I started this quite a while back already, I think I eyeballed the depth of how thick the walls would be. Because if you look at it now, like this is a good thickness for the walls, especially considering there's like, you know, they're supposed to be impenetrable. So what I did is I just, let's go all the way down and let's get a gold block because I like to see the lines when I work. So, so this is my wall, okay? This is the width of the wall. What I did, I'm literally just trying to, okay. So what I did is because there's so many segments of the wall, plus you have these like little, literally this is going to be such a bad explanation. But like the little sticky outy parts, literally that is what I'm going to say it is. You kind of have to lay out. So I think I did that a lot in my first video. I kind of showed how to do that, which is why I'm going to kind of skip over it now. Wait, I'm stupid. Okay. But I honestly, I just eyeballed the thickness of the walls because it would, there's not always going to be measurements. So sometimes you have to use like your common sense and say, okay, like in this situation, if like, especially using this example, like how thick are these walls going to be in relation to the width and the height? And then that is the measurements. So you need to pick a scale and you need to find either like a basic measurements or something that is similar to the measurements that you're looking for a project that is as big as this. A lot of the next part I showed a majority of in the first video that was like half an hour. So it was the gate and the walls. Sorry, on the Shiganshina series. But a lot of what you're going to need is reference photos. If you have a reference photo for anything, interior, exterior, above, below, whatever, use it. So I spent a lot of time personally Googling Shiganshina top view photos, and this is what I found. So these are the two photos I have. You can ignore literally the rest. It's either deck plans or my thumbnails. But I used this one for counting. So here's the gate right here. Oh, I'm gonna change that. So this is the main gate and it lines up, I think, with this gate back here. Now I don't have the perfect details, so you can see that there's like this line on the wall here that is support, kind of like how these act for the outside. And I don't have that, but I have the room to add that, so that's also what's important. So since this is the gate, I'm gonna change my color real quick. Okay, we're doing orange, I guess. So this is the gate. So what I did is I counted the segments of the wall here before it started doing like the major curve. Obviously mine is going to be at least a little different because it's Minecraft, it's blocks. You're only gonna get so far with how much you have. But you have the gate, and I just took it at a time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you'd keep going until you reach the end. But one of the most important things I found when I'm planning a project, especially one is this, because this is the only project I really have as a specific, like outside of ships, I have to find a way to curve it subtly because this is quite a wide curve. You have to find a way to curve it subtly, but also enough where you can tell that it's curving. So I do have a specific video too where where I described and showed how I did the walls. So what I did, I guess this is the only example I really have. So when I don't know how I say I'm planning this. I'm gonna be so honest. I literally just wing it, and hope for the best, and I make my adjustments as I go. And that is one of the most important things, is to constantly be aware that you're going to be making adjustments. And look right here. This is a big ass wall, but you got to see also that there are two water gates down there, so I can't really do anything about it. But you do see that most of the wall is similar in size. That's the word I'm looking for. So when you're taking your reference picture to what you're doing, you don't have to be exact, but you have to, at least exterior wise, you have to be true to the count. So in this example, again, I'm using walls. So I have the gate, and then I have however many walls that I have. So this is a one that I've planned very differently than everything else. A lot of other shipbuilders will take deck plans and they will outline them in paint, and they will use these specific blocks, so the measurements, and the way that it's designed. So if it is 1 pixel, that is 1 block. A lot of people will do that and they'll outline it in paint and they will translate that into Minecraft, but personally I find that really hard for ships. But for this project, this is Hogwarts. I did this entire outline in paint, and for the most part, most of it is outlined, based on literally plans from the Half-Blood Prince movie. So here it is. This is Hogwarts, and another way to do that, like I said, is through paint. Now, some stuff like this, when you're doing it through paint, you can't really figure out a scale. At least that's what I find, because it's hard. It's not easy. And for this specific build, most of this is going to be mountains. I am outlining everything on just one plane, and then I can figure it out later. Okay, so this isn't the one I used, but this is the general drawn out version, I think by J.K. Rowling, which don't stand her. But this is the general outline she did for what she would imagine Hogwarts to look like, but I will show you what I drew in paint as well. Welcome to paint, okay? This is lovely. This is the way it do be. Now, for areas like this that went over the edge, I literally, you just kind of guess sometimes. And that's it. You gotta see what looks the best. And now from here, oh god, I have to like manually zoom in. From here, this, I'm doing everything or almost everything by the pixel, which, you know, kind of a nightmare, but also I'm not doing this by a pixel or this by a pixel. If I compare it here, I am trying to, I guess, scale it down because it looks very large, and you just kind of have to work with it, trial and error. This is a very bad tutorial, I am so sorry. But like for this little pathway for the stairs that lead up to Hogwarts, I did that by mostly pixels, and just following like the general direction of like, oh, like this is comparing it, you know, this goes this way, this goes this way. How do I rotate this? I'm sorry, I don't use paint a lot. There we go. Okay. I also found it easier to rotate it to the direction I need to look at. So like this is how I would look at it because this is the way I'm working. This is the way the stairs go. So you can see here that I have not quite reached most of it yet. And obviously, like a lot of it is hard to do specifically. So because I'm at like a different angle than this, I guess is how I describe it. Honestly, I might have to redo a lot of it, and that's okay because this is the viaduct courtyard. And then you have to be aware, honestly. So this is the viaduct courtyard and it goes into the Great Hall, and then there's this big freaking tower here. And you just got to find your references, which is really important as well. I find that my references come from stuff I have in real life. So I have a Hogwarts model, not a model, like a Lego set that I'm using for like top reference. Like if I don't know, if I don't have pictures, if I don't have this, if I don't have that, I'm going to look at that model for exterior. Guys, I'm sorry, this was kind of like a very bad explanation of how I do things. I'm gonna be honest, I just kind of wing it. I do it. I do the scaling, and then you just kind of go from there. It's just like kind of go, be free, be a bird and fly. So I really hope this helped in some sort of way. If there needs to be more explanations on anything, interior, exterior, scaling, whatever, please let me know and I will try to explain the best I can. Have a good rest of your Tuesday and goodbye.